guys. Before I get into this video where I build this rocking chair out of raw forest materials, which is really fantastic. Once you know how to do this, you want to build tables and chairs and all kinds of really cool stuff out of trees. That's really cool, but I want to address the part that is a bad idea. Because you see this tree behind me? That's called a Brazilian pepper tree, and it contains the same thing that poison ivy has. As you can see, I've got a bit of a rash here, and I'm actually recovering. I'm on steroids now, and this is getting a lot better than it was. And although a dermatologist couldn't confirm that these trees are to blame, I just want to put it out there that anybody else that's looking to mess with these trees and maybe build furniture out of them or even burn them in a fire pit, it is a terrible idea. Again, although I can't say for sure that that's what's causing my problems here, some people are very allergic to it. So take what you see in this video with a grain of salt. As always, I'm just an idiot messing around, looking to share inspiration and stuff, because again, building furniture is pretty cool. But before I get too deep into this video and show you some of the really cool tools that I've discovered, let me show you what my rash looked like at its worst. That's what the result is. You can see there's a bandage there. That's a doctor cut a piece of me out to get biopsied. And meantime, I am riddled. Yeah, my back is all messed up. They took a piece off my back too. My back looks more like my arms. So, yeah, life lessons are tough sometimes. Like, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. Ow. Anyways, yeah, back to the video. Well, this is going to be my attempt to make a rocking chair. I haven't done one yet, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. Although I'm feeling pretty good about it, and I think it's worth documenting, even if there are some hiccups along the way. And although I'm showing you guys my techniques and how I'm going about figuring it out and doing it, really this is going to be a very individual project for anybody out there doing it. I mean, I've made all kinds of things, and well, I have some experience, but I'm not a professional by any means. That being said, I have done my homework a little bit. This is a scale model of a chair. I based this off of things that I saw online, and I built it in a small scale because it's real easy. It's not heavy, and there's plenty of twigs everywhere that enabled me to make this. But then I can set it down and try to envision sitting in this, and whether or not it needs to be higher or lower, where the center of balance is. It's a little bit forward. One thing I've not seen though is using a full log for the rocker part of this. All rocking chairs, the pictures that I've seen online, those rockers, they're made out of like timbers that are cut down. So I want to make something that's really rustic. And fortunately here, where I'm staying, there are Brazilian pepper plants. That's these here. These are an invasive species. What I do like though is the sweeping curves that you see in Brazilian pepper trees. If they compete with mangroves, it's actually encouraged that you rip them down completely. So I think they're beautiful, even though it's an invasive species, and it's representative of the area where I'm staying. So I'm going to use that for the runners or the rockers, whatever they're called. And then I'll be using trees like this, oak trees, for the little parts like the armrests, the backrest, and the part where you set your butt. And yeah, there's plenty of that thanks to Hurricane Milton. I'm constantly going around and pulling trees down, and most of this stuff is getting burnt, like this, and the palmetto fronds, and I'm getting these long pieces here and there, and I thought it was a waste to just burn them, throw them away. So this is really sparking something in me to start doing rustic furniture. And what the hell, I got the workshop here, and I just acquired some tools that are going to help me make that happen. Like this enormous drill. There's a 5/8 chuck on there, and these bits here. That's all I'm going to say about this. The rest I'm just going to show you guys. I'll shut up now and come on, let's build the rocking chair. I think it's worth repeating at this point during the build section of this video that you're about to see some cool tools and techniques, and you may very well want to do this yourself, but I'll say it again, Brazilian pepper is almost certainly not the materials you're going to want to use. Pretty looking, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. I like Brazilian peppers. Yes, I do. After the 2024 hurricane season, I got to use gas-powered chainsaws, electric chainsaws, pole chainsaws, a whole bunch of different types, and I eventually settled on buying this one because I could use my Dewalt batteries to power it, and it is powerful. In upcoming videos, you'll get to see me slab big pieces of wood with this electric chainsaw. And when I put it away, it doesn't leak a drop of bar oil. If you've ever owned a chainsaw, you know how wonderful that actually is. For anybody in the market for a reliable and powerful electric chainsaw, I'll leave a link in the description. Figuring out what tools to acquire was only one part of the puzzle though. My next step that you see me doing here is sorting out all the wood that had fallen and choosing which pieces that I would use for building materials. After this would be figuring out how to put them all together, and I had a pretty good idea how I was going to do it, but we'll get to that in just a minute. As it was though, it took a little bit of extra time because I had no blueprints to go by. I didn't know how long pieces had to be, what diameter, what length, etc., etc. The only thing I had to go by was this little model that I had made. So there was an exorbitant amount of figuring and measuring before it would be time to connect all these pieces. Okay, 2 rockers, 2 uprights, those pieces, yada yada yada. The more I look, the fussier I get. So that's going to be what it be. With those decisions made, it was now time to clean up so I didn't confuse the pieces that I wanted to keep with the pieces that were left over. And then I was finally going to get to try out some of those new toys that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Something that would work a lot faster than the old-fashioned way of just using a draw knife to make a tenon. That was easy. I've seen a lot of old-timers who make mortise and tenon joints by hand, enough so that this kind of made me feel like I was cheating a little bit. However, the amazing speed and accuracy and convenience that this tool affords me more than made up for any kind of feelings that I wasn't a true bushcrafter.
You can't beat that.
This chair was going to require about 28 of those tenons to be cut. With the first 2 done, and my new fancy tool, it didn't take long to do all the rest of them. I must say I was digging this so much, I was already envisioning a better way to clamp these things down. As sure as the train goes by, I eventually do figure it out. But not before I figured out how the hell I was going to make this rocking chair go together. So all the tenons are cut. Now I just got to drill the holes, mortises, wherever those tenons are going to fit. Because I'm kind of eyeballing this and off of these chairs, hopefully they go in the right spots. Stuck here. That's gonna go there. I need a hole there. These tenon makers come with their own mortise bits, not the one that I just showed you. And they also have adjustments on them, which I hadn't mastered at this point. So my first connection here winds up being a little bit loose. It's no fault of the material, it's more of a user problem. But it's okay because I planned on using an expanding glue a little bit later. Truth be told, a loose fit actually made everything go together a little bit easier. And once I had the first half of the rocking chair finished, the rest of it went a little bit faster. Here you can see me using the other rocking chair as a guide for where to put the various bits and pieces of this rustic rocking chair together. And if you listen carefully, in the background you can hear a wood chipper from neighbors who were also cleaning up after the hurricane. And despite the fact that this project of mine definitely had some hiccups, overall I was pretty proud of the fact that I made something from the debris that the storm had left behind. This initial fit might have been a little bit too tall for my short body, but it was a perfect height for giving puppy dogs hugs. You always got to make time for puppy dog hugs, because the days go by fast. This day was going by pretty quickly too, and by the time the day was getting long, I had the frame of this chair finished. And I gotta say, it was starting to look like the little one that I had made a few days prior. After feeding the pups, I got back to work. I raked up the litter of chips that was pretty vast. That tenon maker makes a lot of waste. And with the place looking a little bit neater, I prepped the posts that would make up the bottom of the seat. It was a little bit late in the day to think about fastening them, so I just scavenged around and found the pieces that I could use and cut them all to length. Fortunately, there was no shortage of twigs that were the right diameter. And whatever I didn't use got put into the fire. And again, before you roast me in the comments, yes, I think I said it earlier, don't go burning Brazilian peppers. Kind of one of those things I wish I knew then what I know now. Here I am working on the back of the seat, which wouldn't get as many posts, but I got them all set up and ready. And those were going to require tenons. They're the same diameter as the seat posts, which you can see are visibly shorter or smaller. Fortunately, the kit that I came with for the tenons came with different sizes. There was a small, medium, and large. You can see the medium got used the most. These little pieces for the seat backs were going to require the small tenon maker. And this time I was going to use the mortise bit that came with it. I got to adjust the blades, which you can take out and sharpen. Yep. The further in that you adjust these blades, the smaller the little taper at the end becomes, which is probably why I get a little bit of a loose fit. But it makes cutting the tenons easier. The glue I'm going to use is going to fill those gaps anyway, so no worries. Let's see if it works. I have no experience with this thing. Look at that. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not a cylindrical piece of wood, so you get this kind of wobble there. It's okay. Considering how fast it does it, I'll take it. Fitting all these pieces together was coming along quite nicely. Felt like my big chainsaw and this little one right here and the tenon maker all together made this project a real joy. Nice. This day continued with more of the same of me making tenons. Fitting them together was a little bit difficult. But it was a nice way to end the day. sun went down, I took some time to just sit, enjoy a fire, some fun time with my dogs, and I got to sit and admire the rocking chair as it was coming along. I looked forward to the next day, when I would put the finishing touches onto this project. The next morning started and it was a little bit chilly. Unfortunately, I'd forgotten that my camera was still on the setting I had left it last night as the sun went down. And that's okay too, because I speed up most of my work, so not to make it too boring. I did miss some of the little in and outs though when I talked to the camera and I described how difficult it was getting some of these pieces to all go together at the same time. Because of the angle they were on and the non-precision of my fitting, it took a little convincing. I wound up using a big hammer and some straps that I got out of my truck. It's probably for the best that this was on time lapse and you guys didn't have to hear me cursing so much. Eventually though, I did get all the pieces together and I did a final disassembly before it was time to glue it up. Ah yes. Gotta love when you leave time warp on and lose a bunch of footage. You can see everything is built. I'm going to glue it together. This will expand into any of the cavities there and really make it strong, just like the hammer that I've been using. Probably missed all that footage today. But yeah, this is the first thing that I made that was a mortise and tenon. Very strong. Now, time to glue everything together. I apologize to you guys for making so many warnings, like, you know, don't do as I do, but if you're going to use this type of glue, which expands and is very strong, I would suggest wearing gloves. You know, what's funny is I always knew that it was a very sticky mess when you work with it. It gets on your skin. But I just bothered to look at the label and realize that it can also cause skin irritations. So, be careful out there, folks. Everything is glued up, obviously except the base of the seat, and it's still got a little bit of wobble to it. That should disappear when the glue sets, and then once that's done, I'll be able to nail this piece to that piece, and that really ought to give it some rigidity. It won't be able to go back and forth like that anymore, I don't think. Well, while I waited for that glue to set, I took my grinder and I was going to round over some of these edges. Little by little, I made all these edges where your hands were going to be and your arms and legs a little bit softer. I also wanted to try to figure out how I was going to secure these. I figured I'd use something here from the bush instead of using nails. Yeah, there's my jabby. Anyways, I took this twig over to the bench and I decided I was going to make some dowels. By the music of the neighbors' wood chippers, I cut them into little tiny pieces. A little over 1 inch long, I think, each. Maybe 1.5 inches. I would need 2 for every piece that made up the seat base. Once I had them all made, I just rounded off the edges. And before I knew it, I had a whole bunch of little pieces that looked like store-bought dowels. Although I was using a lot of machinery to make these, it still kind of felt a little bushcrafty. Next came a meticulous part where I had to measure where all these pieces were going to be. I evenly spaced those seat posts and marked where the first dowels were going to be. Once they were installed, then I had to mark the bottom side of those seat posts and drill a hole in those. Ah yes, wood chippers, airplanes, traffic noises. Gotta love the sounds of the forest, huh? This dry fitting session took quite a while.
You can't rush it. I don't want these logs looking as though a Boy Scout was turned loose on them with a dull hatchet.
That's better. I can't remember if this is the second day or the third day. I think this is the second day. And a good amount of it was taken doing that seat back and these seat posts, the part where you were going to put your butt. Although I must say I've done a lot of jobs in my lifetime, doing this one really wasn't the worst. Not by any stretch. Fortunately, I had some pups in the background who were very patient. They always allowed me to do whatever I had to do whenever some sort of obsession took over. I guess that's part of that unconditional love that we talk about as far as puppy dogs go. Hell, the people that subscribe to my YouTube channel probably are just as patient. Before I knew it, the shadows were getting long on this day, and the seat was getting more and more comfortable. As the days go by, I miss my white pup a little bit less and less. Well, I'll never not miss her, but the pain is diminishing a little bit. Before this day was over, I decided to glue everything together. This would be the last of it. These little seat posts were never to be removed again. And this expanding glue, this Gorilla Glue, before I ever used it, I didn't understand its versatility and usefulness. For anybody out there who's a maker, a jar of this stuff, or tube, or whatever you call it, ought to be in your shop. I highly recommend it. Alright, it's the next day and the glue is set. Everything is rock solid. The only problem is it's a little bit high and it doesn't really rock very much. Not sure I can do anything about the height without cutting the legs off and redoing them. I could do that, I guess. But first I want to see if I can use these rockers by carving them a little bit more. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I believe this is the part where I pushed my luck with the toxic Brazilian pepper a little too far. In order to work a curve into the bottom of the chair, I'm going to use this wood carving disc, which is really gnarly. It moves a lot of material. Let's see what it does to green wood. That thing is gnarly, man. Given how the slightest adjustment to the bottom of the rocker can make a big difference in the performance of this chair, I guess I kind of understand why most designers don't just use full logs for the runners. I left the tops alone and left the bark on this thing though, because again I wanted a rustic look. That was really simple and quick. I'm glad I had this thing. First time I used it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes off too much material, but in this particular case, perfect. So now that we have the rock right where we want it, again, I'm going to change it by dropping it down. This part was digging into my thighs, and I'm up on my tippy toes, so probably need to be a little further down. And I wanted to recline back a little bit more, so what I'm going to do is cut these feet off here and about there, and that'll lower the back a couple inches and the whole thing after I re-tenon the bottoms. And then we'll have to mortise out the holes and put it back together, but I think we're going to have something that's dialed in perfect for me. I got a nice chair and I'm going to cut it up. I can't believe this. This is where my troubles with the little pocket chainsaw begin. It's good for very light tasks. We're having troubles. Please to wait. Okay. I had my chain a little too tight, I think. I also found that this saw would work sometimes and other times it wouldn't. It would act very intermittent, and there didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it. Hey. We're going back now. Come on, little saw. Way too tight.
Please hold again.
I think I'm overworking my tools. Oh, this one at least. Oh Jesus, popping off already. Okay, I'm not screwing around anymore. After one last adjustment, the saw finally did its job, but it was most definitely very close to the point where I was about to put it in the garbage. It's funny how sometimes threats can make your tools do what they're supposed to do, huh? Tenon. The tenon maker, by comparison, never seemed to need such coaxing. I think that's good. Can you see the angle difference? That's leaning back. Yeah, nice. that angle is a lot better. Still got to use my tippy toes. That's not too bad though. Guys, if you're interested in making projects like this yourself, I've done some of the homework for you, and I'll leave a link in the description to some of the tools that I use, like the tenon maker. Those are really fantastic. That and the drill. If you get this type of stuff, you really need a big drill. The chainsaw, the little one, not so much. The bigger battery-powered one has been fantastic. I'll leave a link to that as well. So thank you guys for watching, coming along with me as I make a place to park my butt. I appreciate you. Thanks for staying to the end of this one, which is a good sign because I've got some more woodworking videos in the future coming up. And those of you who follow me on Facebook understand that it's been a tough week for me, not just because of the rash, but from losing my white puppy over there. But the Black Lab Bayard and me are doing as best as we can, picking up the pieces and moving on. We'll see you guys again soon. Thanks to everybody who has expressed concern.